The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, how's it going? How are we all on this rather nice Thursday? I'll just start off with the usual sound checks. Can everyone hear me okay? You should be able to, hear me obviously, and see my screen, which should have a like a Convertery funnel called Demo Funnel with a single coffee page in there. Okay, looks like we're all right. Hey Barry, how you doing? Okay, yeah, looks like we are. Looks like we're good to go. First thing is I should introduce myself. So normally these calls are done by a guy called Dan. Dan's on our support team. If I just flick to our About Us page here and scroll down to the bottom, you can see him there. Now, if you've emailed support, if you've been in the Facebook group at all, then you may well have met Dan before. Dan isn't here at the moment. He's away this afternoon. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing, but it's probably to do with football. So instead, you have me. I'm Neil. That's me there. I'm one of the co-founders of Convertri. I've been working on it for going on 5 years now. It's weird. It feels like far longer than that and far shorter at the same time. I'm not sure if you've ever had like that kind of feeling where you've just been so involved with something you just kind of lose all track of time when you're doing it. But that's definitely what it's been like for me. And you can also, if we just scroll to the top of our About Us page here, that guy in the rather fetching red hat is also me. So what we are going to do today is we are going to basically this call is designed for people who are new to Convertery, or maybe like you've had it for a while but you want like a refresher on how it works. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a demo to show off like how all the basic functions of the app work. I'm going to show you how to use it to like build some really nice pages. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a lead funnel. And what I mean by that is we are going to make a page that looks kind of like this one. And someone's going to be able to come to this page. They're going to be able to enter their name and their email address. And when they hit the download button there, that information is going to be submitted to your autoresponder. And the prospect is then going to be automatically redirected to a thank you page where they're going to be able to download the report that this page promises. So we're going to build all that. We're going to build all that out entirely from scratch, and it's going to be live by the time we're done. Once we've done that, we are going to have a look at this page here. And on that page, I'm going to show you basically some of my favorite like editor hacks. I've been on Convertri for like 5 years almost, and I've been using it all that time for like both for like obviously company projects here and some of my own personal stuff. And I found like quite a few ways that I find make using the editor a lot easier. So I'm going to show you those, like a few features that like not everyone discovers that I just think make building pages a lot easier. And then after that, we're basically going to open the floor to a Q&A session. So if there's anything you want to ask that I haven't covered already, like you can ask me. I will hang around for as long as you got questions and do my best to answer them. We will also have the question box. I'm also going to keep that open during the demo. So if you've got any questions about what I'm doing, like if there's something you want to see me do again, if there's anything you're not sure why I'm doing it, then please do put a question in the box. I'll try and keep up with it while the demo's going on. Only thing I would ask for that is if you've got a question like about something else related to Convertery, like if you want to know how to set a product up or something like that, which is like not what we're covering in this specific demo, then just save those questions until the end. I'm more than happy to answer them. It's just if we save them until the end, it just stops us getting off track. And in fact, there's a question in there already. Is there training available on how to build an ecom store in Convertri? That's from David. We're not. I don't know that we're best suited for ecom stores because our cart functions a bit differently. It's like our cart is based as a funnel cart where someone buys one thing at a time. But I can show you how to set up products. I can show you how to do like how I would do something similar. I can do that like at the end of the demo. Actually, can I just check before we get started? On a scale of like 1 to 10, where 1 is like you literally first opened Convertery today, like you got no familiarity with it at all, and 10 is like you're a Convertery expert, we should be like hiring you on the support desk and paying you to make training. Where do you see yourself, like on that scale of 1 to 10? Cool, we've got a couple of 1s, a couple of 4s, 4 to 6 maybe. Okay, cool. So there's quite a there's a reasonable range of abilities. I will try and keep it. I'll try and keep this relevant to everyone. And like I say, if you've got specific questions, please do put them in the question box. I will get through everything I can. So let's get started. So first thing we are going to do is we are going to build out that lead funnel. And like I said, we are going to build a page that looks kind of like this one here. So the first thing we do is from our funnel here, we go to new page up in the top right corner. And this brings up our template selector. And you can see there's loads of page templates here. We'll just scroll away. You can see how many of them are scrolling past. There's huge quantities of them. So like pretty often you're going to be able to find a template that matches the kind of thing you want. But in this case, we're not going to use a template. We're just going to build it completely from scratch. So we'll click this button at the top here, and we'll just call that opt-in. And the reason I'm building it from scratch rather than using a template is, first of all, it just makes it easier to show you the range of stuff Convertery can do, like if we're starting from a blank page. And also, like if I'm honest, I just find it a bit more fun. So this is the Convertery canvas. You can see over here, we've got the elements bar. This is where you drag on like the different elements of your page. Up here, there are menus for controlling like page aspects. There's ones for setting up layers and adding the forms. Some of these we're going to be looking at in the course of this demo as well. And this white bar up here, you can see it says element properties on there at the moment. At the moment, it's empty. When you've got an element selected, then it'll show the quick actions. So it will show things like moving elements like up and down, like in relation to others on the canvas, making them full width and so on. But it's far easier to show you than try and describe it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a background image. And to do that, we're going to take this image element on the left bar, and we're just going to drag that on. And this opens up our image selector. Now, these are all images I've used on this account in the past. And you can add any of your own images into this, and we've also got a Pixabay integration. You can use it if you don't have your own images, you can just search for it using Pixabay. I'm not sure if any of you have used Pixabay in the past, but it's a very, very comprehensive site of royalty-free images. And these are like entirely royalty-free. They're all public domain. You can use these for any purpose you want, like whether you're making money off it or not. So just as an example, does someone want to give me something I can search for? Just so we can have a look at the kind of stuff that Pixabay's got on offer. David has suggested fitness, so let's type in fitness. Let's type it actually in this box and not in the GoToWebinar chat. That would make sense, wouldn't it? So I'll just search for that. And you can see there's a huge number of images that that Pixabay have come up with. If you are particularly eagle-eyed, you might have noticed that one in the select already, because I've used that one on a page in the past. And there's plenty more than just one page of them. So you can see the variety of stuff available here. Now, in this case, I have an image already. So I'm just going to drag that on from my desktop. So I'm going to take my file and I'm just going to drag it on there. So I'm just dragging and dropping this onto the media gallery. And in a second, that will upload. There we are. Now I've actually got a very high resolution image for this. If I just click on this, you'll be able to see that's like 5,200 by 3,500 pixels, which is like as big a resolution as I could find for this picture. And that is like, it's something like a 3 megabyte, 4 megabyte file, which is far larger than you would usually want on a web page. But because Convertery does all this optimization, because it does all this stuff to make the pages load so fast, you can afford to use the far higher resolution images, which is why that's why I tend to do it, like especially for the big background images, the kind of thing that we are adding here at the moment. So we'll hit select. And that has added it to the page. And you see we can just drag it and move it around, so we can put this anywhere we want. But what we're going to do for this image to make it like to have this kind of effect we've got here is the first thing we're going to do is make it full width by clicking this button in that quick actions toolbar. And then we're just going to up the size a bit. And you see I'm just doing this just by literally dragging the bars. Now, if I wanted to, like if I was going for a precise recreation, then like that is something you could do. Like if we were trying to like do a pixel perfect recreation of this page, then I could get like a browser extension which would like say like how like precisely how high this image is as an example. And then if I go into the positioning tab on the elements panel here, then I can change the height manually to, let's say, 1,000. But in this case, I'm not trying to do that. We're just trying to get basically the same page. We're not trying to get an exact copy. So that's why I'm doing this by eye. And that's also, I think, one of the advantages of designing in Convertery. Like you don't actually need to know like the exact measurements of how you want something to look. Like you can just have a look, say in this image, you can think, actually, maybe I want a bit more of the woman on the screen, so I can make the image a bit larger. Maybe you decide you want a bit less. So we'll just move it up a bit higher. So next we are going to add the two panels at the top and the bottom. So what I mean by that are these two colored bars here and here. Now I have been asked on some of these calls in the past, like why am I adding these bars? Why aren't I just using like the image as the full background? And honestly, the answer is just I like them. Like that is literally it. I mean, for there is a bit more of a point to the bottom one, because you see we're going to have a privacy policy link down there, and you want that to be, obviously you want it to be easily readable. And they're just like having a bar like that there, like it saves us doing any kind of transparency effect or like picking a font color which stands out against that particular bit of image. But honestly, the main reason is I just like the look of them. So I've dragged the panel onto the page. I'm going to put that to the top of the screen, and I'm going to use the drag bar to resize here to snap it to the top of the image. And you can see if I just move that and move it up again, you can see that hot pink snap line appear as it goes close, so you can tell when you're in the right place. And I'll just make that full width as well. And now we want to change the background color. So in the properties panel, we're going to choose the background tab. and click on background fill. And this opens up the color picker. And here we can drag this little white spot, we can drag it all over, and you can see as I'm dragging it, like from the black to the red, like over to the white again, you can see it actually update live on the page. You don't need to like choose a color and then hit select to see what it looks like. You can see how it looks as you're doing it. So that page we were looking at had a kind of like orangey beigey effect. So I'm going to drag the spectrum up to that kind of area. And then it's, well, I don't think that's quite the same, but I think that's close enough. So we're going to use that one. And now to get the bar at the bottom, to save us like finding the same color again, which we could do if we wanted. You can see we've got the RGB values in there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the clone button, and that creates a copy of the element. So now just drag that to the bottom, and I'm going to make this one a bit larger because, like you saw, we're going to have a link on it, so we want a bit of room. So now we have the main backing of the page. The next thing I'm going to do is we are going to build this panel, which has got the actual content and the form on it. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take the panel and we'll stick that just like that. And I'm not being too precise about the size. I'm not being too precise about the position. All this stuff we can fix later once we've got all the elements on. At the moment, all I'm doing is just throwing the elements onto the page. So that'll do to start. And next we're going to need some text. So I'll drag the text element on there. And our headline was 7 top tips for slimming without starving. Would help if I could spell. And we'll need one for the body text. And that was something like, find it hard to stick to a diet. My typing is rubbish today. Don't worry. So do we. These 7 tips will have you looking and feeling great without needing to starve yourself for 20 hours a day. And again, I don't think that was exactly what the page we're copying had. Yeah, but again, it's close enough. So a bit more text again, because now we need the bits that go above and below the form. And one for the anti-spam text. So you can see here, I'm just typing right on the page. So again, you can see exactly how it looks as you're building. Got a question from Guido. If you want to copy RGB values from your WordPress site, how do you import those values? Well, for that, the easiest way is to, again, find the RGB values of your site on possibly your theme will give them to you. Or you could, if it doesn't, then you can use a color picker. I'm not sure if I don't actually have one installed on this browser. I did on my other one. But there's an app for Chrome, which I think is just called Color Picker for Chrome. It's a free Chrome extension, and if you use it and you click it and you mouse over any bit of the page, it will give you the RGB values. And once you've got them, if we just go to the background panel here, then you can see them move here, but you can also type them in. So you say 256 78 78, which apparently is a rather painful to look at red. But when you know your values, you can just type them right in. Let's make that a bit easier on the eye. Okay, so we've got our text. We've got our text in the form here, or we've got our text in the panel here. Now we need to make it look good. Now you can select the text in here, and you can see there's options up here to change the font, to change the font size, to change the font color, again with the RGB values, which you can just type in should you want. But I prefer, rather than doing this element by element, I prefer to do this through default styles. And this is a feature which lets you change all the text on the page at once. And we access this through the page menu up here. And here is the default text styles tab. So you can see at the moment, this is what it's just set to as a default when you open the editor. And that's indeed what we've got in there. So if we change this, like the font I quite like using for these pages is Lato. And you see I've changed that to Lato, and you might be able to see that the fonts have now changed, like right below that. We are also we're going to leave the font weight as normal, and we're going to leave the size as 16, but I am going to up the line spacing a bit. I quite like having quite a lot of, or quite a wide line space on my text, just because it makes it easier to read. And so I'm going to have 1.8 for this, and we'll hit done. And you can see here that all the text has updated. And this is quite useful, especially if you are editing a template where we've got the default style set up, because rather than, if you decide you want to choose a different font, if we decided, actually maybe we don't want Lato, maybe we want, I don't know, let's have, I don't know if I'm reading that, Montez? Let's try Montez. So we just change the default style, and all the fonts have changed at once. So we don't need to change them text box by text box. You can just update everything that is set to that style all at once. It makes it very easy to just adjust the entire page quickly so you can see how it's going to look. We definitely don't want Montez though, because that is really quite hard to read. So I'm going to change that back to Lato. Something we're also going to do is we are going to set the default styles for our headline. And for that, I'm going to use our heading 1 style. For this one, I'm going to use Noto Sans. And we're going to keep it as bold. I'm actually going to take the font size down a bit. Our default heading 1 font size is 36, but we're in quite a small panel here, so we're going to make that 24. And in this case, I'm going to leave the line spacing as 1.2, keep it a bit more narrow. That's because this is a headline, and if you have the narrow space in headlines, it just makes them a bit more punchy, they leap off the screen a bit more, which I think is the kind of thing you want from a headline. So if we hit done, now you'll see here that nothing here, we've set that heading 1 style, but nothing here has changed. And the reason for that is that none of these boxes are currently set to the heading 1 style. So we want this box here to be a heading 1. So we're going to click in that box so we can see the text toolbar. We'll go to more, and you can see the style set up here. So we'll hit heading 1, and that has now taken our heading 1 style. The other thing we're going to do is we are going to shrink the size down on these bits of text. And this one I'm actually going to do via the element, just through this bar up here. And the reason I'm doing these ones through the element is because I don't want these changes to be applied to the whole page. I just want them applied to this text box. So now we have our text looking all right. The next thing we need to do is add the form. And again, you can probably see here, I've not really aligned these properly yet. Again, we're going to sort that all out after all the elements are on there. So now we want to add our form elements, which we can do through this form elements menu. And we're going to want to capture the first name. So we'll add an input for that. We're going to want to capture the email. So we're going to add an input for that. And we're going to want a submit button. So we'll add one of those on too. Now you can see there's three preset information types, which are the basics of first name, last name, and email. You're not limited to that. You can capture any bit of information you want. If you want to capture something else, just select the generic text input down here and drag that on instead. The only difference is that the first name, last name, and email boxes come with the type preset, whereas with text input, because it's generic, you'll just have to pick the type that you want to use. So now let's get all these elements looking nice. So again, just roughly on the spacing up here, put them a bit like that. Should the form elements a bit lower. Again, very, very rough. Not worrying too much about the precise spacing here at all. Because now we've got them approximately where we want them, we can use Convertry's alignment options just to snap everything into neat lines. And to do this, we are going to select this backing panel. And you can see when I do that, you get these dashed pink outlines that show all the elements which are contained within that panel. And what containment means as well is that if we move this backing panel, all these elements we have contained will come with it. So you don't have to move them one by one. But to arrange these elements with this panel selected, we're going to select our alignment options up here. And you can see there's lots to choose from. The one we are going to use is center align to snap everything into line on the center of that element. And the other thing we need to look at is this form. You can see these currently aren't spaced very nicely. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and multi-select every element. So that's just holding Shift and clicking on each one so you can see all three are now selected. Then we'll go back to our alignments menu. We are going to choose distribute vertically. That will space them all evenly between the first and last. And just a couple of fine adjustments now. I'm just going to move that enter your best email box down a bit. And I'm just going to use the arrow keys here to shift it one little pixel at a time. I'll move that one a bit further down. We'll move that one a bit further up. And that panel is now looking quite nice. Final thing we've got to do to make it look like our demo page again is you can see this one has these rounded edges and there is this slight transparency effect on the back. Oh, actually something else I forgot to do. We haven't yet changed the text on the submit button. So we'll do that first. So to do that, we will select the button here. We'll select button settings from the properties panel. And we will just change our label to download now. And again, I'm going to change the font family to Noto Sans just to match the headline. And on these form elements in input properties, I'm going to also change this to Lato. And I'm going to take the font size down just very slightly to 14. So you can see you've got quite a lot of fine control over how your page is going to look. And now back to the panel. And with the panel selected, we're going to go to borders. We're going to have an equal border radius for all corners, and I'm going to put that at 20. And if I click off that, you can now see the beveled edge. And this is something you can adjust it up and down, and you can see that happening on the screen, so you can see exactly how it's going to look. I use 20 again. That's just the amount I like. You can, if you like more, if you like less, then just have a higher or lower number. And finally, for the transparency effect, if we go to background, I'm going to make our background like pretty much full white. The slider on the right here controls the transparency of the panel. So at this end, it's fully opaque. If we drag it all the way to the bottom, it's fully transparent. Obviously, we don't want that because then we can't read the text. So we are going to have this at maybe a bit more than that. Yes, about 75. And that's now looking pretty good. Final thing we've got to do on this version of the page is we've got to add our privacy policy link. So to do that, we're going to add another text element. Just type in privacy policy. We'll center this text, and we'll also center the element. And now to make this a hyperlink, I'm just going to select this text and click on the hyperlink button in the Quick Actions toolbar. And now we just type in the link we want it to go to here. Now I'm going to send this to Convertry's privacy policy page. Obviously, if you're making this for yourself, you would use your own privacy policy. I'm also going to set it to open in a new tab. Because if someone comes and clicks your privacy policy link, you don't really want them taken away from your opt-in page when they do it. So that is our desktop page pretty much done. Does anyone have any questions at the moment? SR is asking, if you place more than one submit button on the same page, can they each point to a different thank you page or not? I think the answer is no, since the form controls the whole page. Yep, that's absolutely correct. There is on any Convertery page, there is a single form. You can have as many sets of inputs as you want. Like if you wanted, if you were going to make a longer page and you wanted to have your input set repeated further down, that's absolutely fine. You can totally do that, but they would have to submit to the same list and go to the same thank you page. David's asking, can the opt-in box be connected to an autoresponder? It absolutely can. I'll be showing you how to do that in probably about 5 to 10 minutes. Guido is saying it's looking very fluid and intuitive, more flexible than building landing pages and thank you pages from Aweber and similar. Well, thank you. It's I mean, Leslie, we've worked quite hard on this. It's certainly the way we like to build pages. So I'm glad you get the same impression. The final thing we need to look at on this page is the mobile view, because obviously quite a lot of your traffic is going to be mobile. So if we click on, if we're at the top here, you can see design for desktop and mobile. At the moment, we've built the desktop page. Sorry, one other one came in. Christian's asking, I didn't understand if we can use Convertery also to create our authority site from scratch. You can certainly build simple websites in Convertery. Awful lot of people do. The one thing that, something you might want on an authority site, that Convertery isn't very good at, is a blog. We're not designed to have rapidly updating or frequently updated content like that. I mean, you can totally build a blog on Convertery if you want, but eventually, as you get a lot of posts, you're going to have quite a lot of manual management. But you can also you can build your front-facing authority site on Convertery and connect a WordPress blog to it. We actually have a guide on how to do that in the knowledge base, which just have a look at. This is help.convertery.com. By the way, this is our knowledge base with all the videos on there. If we type in blog, then we've got, there we are, full walkthrough for setting up a blog on a Convertery site. And what this does is shows you how to basically have your like your main authority site on your main domain and your blog on a WordPress subdomain, and this will show you how to connect them together. And David's asking how does this look on mobile. That is actually exactly what I am about to show you. So as I was saying, there is design for desktop and design for mobile at the top. We've built the desktop page. If we click on mobile, then you can see this is the automatic mobile version that Convertery has created. Now, the important thing is you don't have to stick with this. Like in this case, like I think this page I think the automatic mobile version looks pretty good, but like maybe you want to change it. Like maybe you want, I don't know, maybe you want your form right at the top. So we can do that. We can just, whoops, at least we could if I didn't grab the wrong element. If we wanted to shift that up and put our text underneath, like we can rearrange the positions of these items however we want. And if we go back to the desktop page, you can see that's not changed. The positioning is entirely disconnected. So you can arrange your mobile page like however you want it to look. And I'll just click this remobilize button to put it back to the way Convertery originally had it. Now, obviously, that's not like that particular example isn't really something you're likely to do. This is just like showing you like the kind of things you can do if you want. What I am going to do on this page is I'm going to take the size of this text down a little bit. Our default font scaling is 150%. We do that because basically mobile pixels are a bit smaller than desktop pixels, and with that scaling, it means the text is about the same size on both desktop and mobile. And often that's fine. In this case, I think I want it a bit smaller. I think that would look better. So I'm going to go back to our default styles, and I'm going to change the default font scaling on mobile. I'm going to change that to 120. And now I'll return to the mobile view. And you can see that this is like all this text has shrunk down, and because we use default styles, it's also affected these other text boxes here. It hasn't affected the heading style because that is a different style. So we now have our mobile page. And I'm going to save that. Now, the one thing we haven't done on this page yet is connect the autoresponder. And I will do that once we've built the thank you page for reasons which I think will become quite apparent. So first we need to create our thank you page. And what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to start with a clone of this opt-in page. A couple of reasons for doing this. First one is it lets me show you how the clone page feature works. And so for that, I should probably talk you through that. We go to the three-dot menu on the page card, we click More, and we select Clone. And we'll call this Thank You because that's what it's going to be. And we now have our page, which is a complete clone of our last one. And the other reason I clone the page is that when you're directing someone to a new page, it's quite nice to give them a sense of congruence, just keep them feeling like they're in the right place. And in this case, having the same backing image, the same basic page style, that just makes it a lot. It makes it a lot more obvious that where people have been sent, they're in the right place. They've not been sent off somewhere random. Frederick's asking, are there authority site templates on Convertri? Yes, I do think we have one, actually. I will show it to you once I finish the demo. So what we're going to do first is we are going to change the text. So say something like, thanks for signing up. And we'll move that up, and we need to change this text so it explains what people are going to have to do. So we'll say, click on the below to download your copy of 7 tips for slimming without starving. Now, obviously, we're not going to need the form anymore. So I'm just going to select all these items, and I'm just going to hit the backspace key to get rid of them. There's also a delete button in the quick actions toolbar. You can use that if you want. We will keep the button, and we'll shrink the box, and we'll move that to, we'll just center it roughly, like that. And then we'll just use our alignment options again, center align everything, just make sure everything is nice and snapped into the center. I'm also going to change the color on that background button. I think just make it look a little bit different. Just make that like a nice forest green. Green's a very friendly color, I think. So, yep. So now we need to connect this. We need to connect this download button to our actual report. So what we're going to do with this is, with our button selected, we go to button settings, then we can see the mode up here. Now this is what the button's going to do. This is set to sign up as a default, and obviously that's what we used on the last page because someone is signing up to the form. But if we select the button here, you can see there's a range of different options. You can open the checkout, you can do a direct purchase, you can have a link attached to it or a trigger, but the one we want is download. And when we select download, we have the option to attach a file. So we'll just click on select file, and you can see I've got the file in here already from past demos, but I'm actually going to delete that just so I can show you the upload process. And this works like exactly the same as the image did. So I've got the file on my desktop, got my PDF, and I'm just going to drag that on, and that is going to upload. And you can use PDFs, you can use docs. I think you can use like MP3s, MP4s. The individual files themselves have to be less than 40 megabytes. But basically any file that's not an executable, you can add here. So now we've got that uploaded into Convertery's library. We are going to select it. Now there's a toggle here for force download on click. This comes up quite a lot, like in these presentations, like people often have questions on it. So basically what this does is some browsers, when someone clicks on a button that's set to a download like this, they won't actually download the file. They will open it in another browser tab. Chrome, I think, does this. I think Firefox as well. And if you I don't particularly mind that, because I mean, someone can they can download the file in any case after it's done that. There is a download button that appears, but some people don't like that. They prefer to have the file downloaded and the viewer to remain on their page. And if you would like that to happen, you just click force download on click, and that way you can guarantee the behavior will be to download the file and remain on the page rather than have the file open in the browser. Let's say it's not something I'm particularly bothered about, so I'm going to leave it off. And we're going to save that. And we're going to check the mobile version again. And again, this is the automatic mobile version, which again, I think looks fine, but I am going to make it a bit bigger because there's not much content on this page. The automatic mobile version is quite small, whereas I would prefer it a little bit larger. So with this backing image selected, I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to resize that. And when I'm holding down Shift and doing this, it also pushes down the rest of the page. So you don't have to rearrange everything manually. And we'll just stick that in roughly in the middle. Like that. So Save that. And now we will publish. And we'll put that at, let's say, demo/thank you. And now if I hit view page, you can see that is now live on the internet. And someone can come along here, click on that button and download the file. SR is asking where's the file stored? The file is stored on Convertery system. Basically, everyone gets like an amount of file storage. It's I think we give you something like in the region of a couple of gigabytes. So it's like, especially with 40 megabytes file, it's going to be very hard to fill it up. But that will just be stored with us. You don't have to use Convertery system if you don't want to, or if you're using a bigger file. You can connect the button as a link to say S3 or another hosting system like that, and that will work just as well. So one thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that arrow button, and I've drawn an arrow between these pages. Now what this does is it tells Convertery that when someone signs up on this page, we probably want them to go to this one. So I'm going to hit edit page, and now we are going to wire up our form. So first thing we're going to do here is we are going to attach the form to the page. So we'll click on Forms in the bar up here, and we're going to use an API connection for an autoresponder, and I'm going to use MailChimp. Now I'm using MailChimp mostly because that's the autoresponder I've got connected to this account. You can see there's a range of different integrations here. We've got GetResponse, Aweber, ActiveCampaign, some of the new ones like Campaign Refinery and MailerLite. The process for all of these is it's exactly what you're going to see here. So you select your autoresponder, you select your list. We have a little test one here for demos like this. Now we select the form field types. And what this is going to be doing, the type is essentially part of a matching exercise. We are also going to set types on our inputs, and Convertery will look for the matching type between the input and the field and take whatever data is entered into that input and put it into that field. So in this case, the field is called first name, the type is called first name. Convertery will find whatever input also has the first name type when the form is submitted and put it in the autoresponder field. So you can see first name comes preset here and email is fixed. We'll hit next. And because we drew that arrow between the pages and we have our published thank you page already, Convertery has automatically filled the URL of our thank you page in here. Again, we don't have to keep it. We can send people anywhere. Google.com, that's not going to work. We can send people anywhere we want. But when you have the arrow set up, Convertery will provide those URLs as suggestions, and when there's only one, it will pre-fill them. So we'll hit done, and now we'll check our field types on here. So again, this input, you can see that has the first name type. The email you can see has the email type, and we've also got this one set to required, so people have to enter the email before they can submit the form. So now we'll publish that, and we'll publish that at demo/opt-in. Let's say opt-in 1. And view page, again, we can see this is live on the internet. Someone can now come to this page, enter their details, hit download. They will be submitted to our autoresponder and then directed to the thank you page. So that is all of the funnel build demo. I can see we've got a couple of a couple of questions come in. David's asking, can you import WordPress pages, and how effective and exact is the content porting over? Yep, you can use our page importer to import WordPress pages. It's pretty good. It'll get you like 95% the way there with most themes. It's not going to be perfect. Like, there are going to be things you're going to need to tidy up afterwards, but it's going to be like, it will be an awful lot faster than trying to rebuild the page from scratch. Frederick's asking, could you show how to make a parallax effect overlay? Yep, or I can show you how to make what we call a parallax effect. I've found there's like 5 different effects that people call parallax, so I hope we're thinking of the same one. To do that, you would select like your background image that you want to have that effect applied to. And in, I believe it's background. Yes, in the background tab, you can see the fixed background toggle. Switch that on, and you can see the image here will basically stay in place as you scroll. So that is how you do what we call the parallax effect. I hope that's what you're after. Kathy's asking, is there going to be a replay if you're registered? Yep, there absolutely will be. We're recording this at the moment. As long as the recording works all right, which, like, I don't want to guarantee it because tech is sometimes weird, but it, like, 99% of the time it's fine. There will be a replay of the call. It will go in our knowledge base, and I'll just show you where that is. So again, help.convertri.com is the address of the knowledge base. When you're there, if you go to Getting Started Webinars, then you can see this is where we keep the recordings of like all of these presentations that we've done in the past. So even if this one doesn't work, you will have like a copy that you can watch. But this one will also be going in the list. It'll be there probably early next week, like Monday or Tuesday is when they normally go up. So, okay, does anyone have any further questions before I move on to the editor hacks part of the demo? And is this being useful so far? Yes, tech is great when it works. To be fair, it usually does. Like, basically, I'm in the habit of like caveating it now, because one time a couple of years ago I was like, yeah, no, we're totally going to do a replay. It'll be up in the next couple of days, and then the recording, like, I don't know what went wrong with it. It just like died halfway through the conversion, and we couldn't get it back. But that has been like the one time in my entire time, like of running webinars at all, when it's ever been an issue. It just like still left me a bit traumatized. Kathy saying, I missed the arrow drawing. How do you do it? Okay, we'll just get rid of the arrow so I can show you again. On these page cards, you can see in the bottom right corner, there is a little new arrow button. So I'm just going to click that, and you can see the arrow gets drawn out. And then I just click on another page, and that will draw the arrow between it. You can have arrows connected to multiple pages. You can have multiple arrows connected to the same page. So you can plan out your funnel like however complicated it's going to be. Okay, cool. Let's go on to the editor hacks part. So for this, we are going to go into this coffee page. Now this is a page designed for a cafe. Looks all right. And on this page, I'm going to show you basically how to, like, a few things that I think make using the editor like an awful lot simpler. Obviously, like I say, if you have any questions about the stuff I'm doing, please do ask, or if there is anything in particular you'd like to see. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the element outlines feature. And if we go to display and click element outlines up here, you can see you get these like hot pink lines around every element. And this just lets you see like how the page is constructed. So you know, like if you want to like select like this little menu section, you know where you've got to click, like rather than trying to find it. And this makes it an awful lot easier to see like how your page is put together. And the first thing, well, second thing, because element outlines I can count. So second thing I'm going to show you is how to remove a section. So let's say we came to this page, but we didn't want this menu section. Now, obviously we could like delete every element one by one. We could multi-select them like you saw earlier and then delete them all together. But doing anything like that, like especially when you've got quite a complicated section, that's going to be like a bit of a faff. So by far the easiest way to do that is to click the backing panel here. So you can see the orange or the blue line around that black section, and click the delete button up here. It will also work exactly the same if you use like the backspace or the delete key on your keyboard. You can also undo it if you decide, like if you did it by accident, you can click the undo button and you can see it's back again. We'll just get rid of it with the keyboard this time. Next, if you're deleting a section, you're going to end up with a load of white space, which clearly isn't something you want in the middle of your site. And again, you can drag the sections like up one by one if you want, but again, like that's a bit of a pain, don't really want to do that. So instead we have the remove white space feature. So we select the top of the panels we want to move up. We hit remove white space, and the whole thing just snaps to that next available element. If instead you want to make some space, like if we wanted to insert something in the middle, like without deleting something, again, rather than shift everything down individually, if you hold the shift button and then drag the element, you can see everything below goes with it. That also works upwards. So you can close gaps. Like we did with remove white space, you can close gaps also by holding down shift and dragging it upward. But remove white space is quite useful when you've got a big amount of space. So that's quite a useful way of managing the length of your pages. Another handy thing to know about is the alignment options, and we saw these a bit on the funnel build demo, because you saw I had that panel on the page, that one there, and then snapping the bits into the center. But we can use these in combination to get some quite to get some quite good effects. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a few more of these headshot images, and then I'm going to align and space them nicely across the page, and it should just take us a couple of clicks to do that once we've got them up there. So we have our headshots, and we'll clone those. Oh, actually, another thing I should show you, there's another keyboard shortcut that's really quite useful. If you hold down the Alt key and drag, you get a clone of the element. That's something I use an awful lot, rather than hitting the clone button in the toolbar. It doesn't. Well, obviously, it's not that much of a hassle to click the button, but when you're doing it quite a lot, it can save you quite a lot of time. This also works for cloning sections. So if you have the backing section selected, hold down Alt, then you get a copy of the entire section with all the elements inside it. So that can be quite useful. So say we have these 6 headshots, we want to space them out nice and evenly across the page. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to create like our bounding box. And we're going to do this with a panel. So I'm going to put that about there, and I'm going to send it all the way to the back and then just bring it forward until I can see it. So now we have this panel with all our headshots contained. And I'm just going to make that transparent so it's easier to see how it's going to look on the page. So let's drag that all the way down. So with our box or with our container box selected, we go to our alignment options, and the first thing I'm going to do is use middle align. That puts them nice to the vertical middle of the element. Then I'm going to select horizontally contained, and that spaces them nice and evenly so you've got the same space like between both the edge of the element and the first, and between each of the headshots. And if we just switch element outlines off so you can see the look easier, you've got them spaced nice and evenly. Like, looks really nice, and we didn't have to do any of that by eye. So the final thing I want to show you in these editor hacks is I want to show you how mobile works, or how to build a page such that Convertery creates a good mobile version, like pretty much automatically. Because you can change it how you want, but you don't really want to have to. So if we have a look at the mobile page, like with the way this page is currently designed, then you see that's not really ideal. Because we've got our logo, we've got our 24/7, we've got our image, but then these bits, you've got the paragraphs detached from the text, like our headshots. I mean, obviously we added in some extra ones there, so they're all not going to match, but the headshots are separated from the testimonials. The social icons down here are all vertical. When, I mean, to be honest, those bits aren't too bad, but I would definitely prefer if they were kept horizontally the way they are on the desktop page. And we can make Convertri do this entirely out of the box. And the way we do this is through using containment. So again, I'm going to switch on element outlines so you can see the structure of the page. And what you need to understand with this is basically how Convertri puts the mobile page together. And what it does is it runs along the page, basically left to right, top to bottom, and it adds elements to the mobile page in the order it finds them. So here, it runs along the page, left to right, top to bottom, and the first element it hits is this one for the logo. So that, if we go back to the mobile page, that is the first element we get on here. Next it hits we are open, then it hits the image, and so it adds them second and third. So far so good, but then we get down here, and as Convertery runs along, first it hits bread, then it hits the pastry heading, then it hits the coffee, then it moves down and it hits this paragraph, then this one, and then this one. And that's how they end up getting added to the page. That's not what we want. So to make Convertery group these together automatically, what we are going to do is we are going to add a panel on, and we are going to contain all these elements. So we have our panel here. Again, I'm going to center back and bring forward. And we'll just do the same on the others. Send back, bring forward. And I'm going to make all those transparent as well, because we don't actually want to see the panel on the page. And now when we go to the mobile view, you can see that Convertery has kept them together. And that's because when it's gone along the page, what it's actually hit first of all is this box. So it's hit this box and it's added this box to the page, mobilized everything inside it, and then moved on to the next one. And so we get the page looking here as we want it. We can do the exact same thing down here. So we'll just get rid of these extras. So we'll just have these headshots contained in their box. And you can see, like when I've got this backing box selected, you can see these got these pink dashed guidelines, which mean they are inside it. So we return to mobile, and the headshots have been kept with their testimonials. So we don't have to adjust anything on this page, it's just done for us. And the final thing, we can do this the exact same way. We'll add another panel. Send back, bring forward. And you know what, let's align those nicely as well. Let's do that horizontal containment. And center that. Now, one thing you have to check when you're trying to keep elements together like this, or when you're trying to keep them on the line, is that we need the size of the box to be less than 300 pixels wide. So you can see here, 255. Actually, again, let's just make that transparent. So we can see the width of this box is 255. We go to mobile view, they are kept together. And basically, Convertery knows that when a box is less than 300 pixels wide, it doesn't have to rearrange anything in the box for it to display it on mobile. So we can have these displaying exactly how we want. Maybe we want them all shifted up there. If we go to mobile, see they're still arranged exactly as I put them on the desktop. If we make this box bigger, if we make it bigger than 300, so now we're up to 458. Now Convertery knows when it hits this box, it's going to have to shrink the box, and that means it rearranges the elements inside it. So if we return to mobile, you can see they're back to being vertical. Shrink it to less than 300. Horizontal again. SR's asking, so I made 3 panels. I assume this is for the section up here. Yes, I made 1 backing panel for each little section. To be honest, you don't really need to. If you just do the first one, then Convertery is smart enough to work out you want the others the same way. But I prefer doing 1 for each, just because it makes it easier to rearrange the page afterwards. If I decide, maybe I decide I want coffee first and then pastry. If they're all in their backing boxes, then I can just rearrange them like this. Rather than move each element around. Just as good practice, it's a good idea to put collections like that in panels, to group them together. It just makes your life a lot easier for a lot of reasons. Okay, so that is the end of the demo. Does anyone have any questions on what they've seen? As I was asking, can you clarify the difference between send backward and bring to front? Basically want to know the difference between front versus forward and back versus backward. Yep, absolutely can. Basically, let's might be easier to do this if we add a few more elements on here. So let's add us on a few panels. Let's change the color of that. Let's have a red one. And let's have a green one. And a blue one. And a purple one. And we'll get rid of that image, just so it doesn't get in the way. And we'll turn that off. So the difference between like bringing forward and sending to, and like bringing it all the way to the front is basically a matter of like steps. If we click bring forward, that will move it like one step down each time. Same way send backward goes back one step. If we hit bring to front, it brings it all the way to the top of the pile. And then send to back sends it all the way to the back, which in this case is even behind like that white backing panel we've got the rest of these on. So we bring forward again, like it comes above the white panel, but below the other colored ones. Yes, Frederick's asking about the authority site template. I did say I'd show you that one. So don't really know why I saved that. I'm going to have to set that up again now. Silly boy. Never mind. So for this, we're going to create a new funnel. Search for authority. So yeah, so we have here our authority website funnel. We'll put you on neil.convertery.com. We'll hit create. So this is an authority site template based around basically a simple site and a few that contains a few articles. So if we have a look at our homepage, like this one is basically based around having a book to sell, but obviously you can adapt it however you want. The templates are all built in Convertery, so you can shift them around. You can you can do what you want with them, just as if you'd like built the page. So we have a homepage that comes with like an about page and some article pages. There's also like a sales page for the thing you're trying to sell. And an article page that you can use to like to have the articles that you will use to build your authority, or for SEO, like if that's your preference. And they will come with a link to your sign up page at the bottom. David's asking about Ecom and Products. Like I say, Convertri isn't really set up for like physical ecom. Like that's not really what we're good at. But I can show you like how the product process works and how the cart is put together. So for this, if we have let's add a basic checkout page. Yeah, that one looks all right. So the first thing to understand when using Convertery for ecom and for product sales generally is that Convertery uses a funnel cart. That basically means someone buys a thing and then they're sent to your upsell page and then they buy that as a separate transaction. Like things don't get added to a cart and then paid at the end, they buy like on the way. So the way you can set this up is you can, if you create your like main store page, you can have a load of products on there, and then each product can link to a separate checkout page, which can look like this. We actually need to set up a product on this account, first of all. So we'll just go into cart, we'll hit create a new product. And, whoops. And we'll call it, Ziggy Stardust, The Glam Years. You can probably tell what my taste in music is like from that one. So we'll set the price. Let's say that's $17. So that's created our basic product setup. Yes, that's right. Having each product check out from its own page is the way we're setting this up. So then in the integration section, you would need to integrate either Stripe or PayPal, or both. And then to connect the checkout to the product, you can see that this page has come with there's credit card fields, which you can again get from the form elements. Credit card input is there. And we've added a load of inputs for the different bits of the address. And this is something, again, you can build this yourself so you can get the exact look and the exact information you want. I'm really just using a template for speed here. But then to attach the product to the page, we'll click Products up here. We'll choose our product. We can set our redirect URL, which could be, this could be your upsell, it could be your delivery page. Let's stick Google for now. And we'll hit Save and Close. All these other options here, if you're using Convertry's modal checkout, rather than having a checkout form on the page itself, then you can use these fields here to set all that up. Because we've got the checkout form on the page, we don't need to do that in this case. So we'll hit Save and Close. And now when someone enters their information, they click the Order Now button, they'll be charged the $17. They'll be sent to your your delivery page, to your upsell page for that product. You can also set these. You can also attach a form to the page. So if we attach this to an autoresponder, as well as attaching the product, then your prospect or your buyer would also be added to your email list, when they made the purchase. So you can also use that for delivery. So you can have each product go to its own list, or maybe have a separate tag, and from that you can use your autoresponder to fire off your delivery message. David's asking, can a shopping cart be created if I use something like Thrivecart? Yeah, definitely. Quite a lot of our users use Thrivecart for like when they want functions that we don't provide. I don't have a Thrivecart account to hand, but the way you would do that is if you use the HTML element over here, then we can just make that a size. If you hit Edit HTML, you take the embed code that Thrivecart give you, stick that in the box there, hit save, and that will just let you embed a Thrivecart checkout on your page, like just as you would with any other page. SR's asking about the modal checkout. Yes, if I've understood your question correctly here, then yes, it's still one product per page. You can use the modal checkout like on that page, and if you want to, like it would be the same checkout for the same product would open on any like open checkout button on that page. If you want it to be a different product, then you'd put that on a separate page. So yeah, one modal checkout per page. I hope I'm answering the right question there. Frederick's asking about SEO. We have a range of SEO options. If you click in the page menu, then we go to meta info. Then you can see you can set the page title, you can set the description and the keywords. You can set the no index and no follow. This is also where you can set the open graph image, which is the image that gets shared. Like if you share the page on, say, Facebook or LinkedIn, then that is the image that will get used like by the network. So you have all those options there that you can use for SEO. Okay, while I have a swig of water, does anyone have any more questions, or have I missed anything that's in the list? David's asking where do you find the import page function? Once you're in a funnel like this, if you click import page up here, then you'll have a range of options. You can use a share code, which would be like if you're sharing or if you're getting a Convertery page that's been shared, you can enter a share code that way. You can also, the page importer I was talking about, importing from an external URL, you just add the URL in here, basically confirm like that it's actually yours and that you're not stealing someone else's content, enter a name, and then just hit import. Frederick's asking, do you have to pay separately for the page importer? That depends on your account level. If you've got a pro or an agency account, then the page importer is just included. If you have a standard account, then you can get the page importer like as a standalone upgrade, rather than needing to upgrade to pro. Okay, do we have any more questions? How do you connect a domain to Convertery? That's a very good question. So to do this, if you go into Account up here and then click Domains, this is where you can add different types of domain. You can add Convertery Subdomains by clicking on Add here and type in what you want there. As long as the domain is free, that will just make it. To add one of your own domains, there's two different ways of doing this. The one that we usually recommend is to use our name servers, and for that you use Convertri with a new domain, and hit Add here. And that is for when you want to, basically when you want to have the root domain on Convertri. So if you want to have yourdomain.com and have that hosting your Convertri pages, then that is the best one to use. If you already have that domain in use, like if say that's got a WordPress site on it or maybe a blog, and you want to have your Convertri pages on something like offers.yourdomain.com, then you can click on Add Convertri to your domain, and that will walk you through setting up a subdomain. Obviously, I don't have a domain ready to show you the entire process, but on the in the knowledge base again, if we go to domains and hosting, there are a pair of walkthroughs. If we go to the Start Here page, I'm just going to add that into the chat for you. In fact, I think I put that in entirely the wrong box. There we are, that's better. So yeah, on that article, that will show you the different methods we've got of setting up the domains. And on the walkthroughs themselves, you've got a full video walkthrough of how to do it. There's also guides written out as a PDF, just showing you all the different steps you need to take. So you can check that out, and that will show you how to put your domain together. Does Convertery have a WordPress plugin to make the connection? Yes, it does. You can see that there. So you can download the Convertery connector plugin. That will let you add Convertery pages direct to your Convertery site, to your WordPress site. Sorry. To be honest, if I were you, if you want to do it that way, I would probably set up the subdomain rather than use the WordPress plugin. It's basically because the WordPress plugin is doing an iframe of the page. It's not quite as good for SEO. You won't get quite all the speed benefit because you'll have to load WordPress before you get to load the Convertery page. So using the CNAME method, which is I close the tab, silly boy. So if we go to publishing your Convertery pages on a subdomain of your own site, if you use the walkthrough here for CNAME, that will give you all the benefits, and is generally a better way of doing it. Okay, are there any more questions? Cool. I think we're at the end of the list. I'll hang around for a couple of minutes just in case anyone thinks of anything else. But if that's it, then yep, thank you all very much for coming out. Let's say I hope you found it useful, and I hope we can either get you started on Converter a bit faster, or if you were looking at this as a to see whether or not it was something you wanted to test out, I hope I've persuaded you to try taking a trial. And yep, that does seem to be it. So if let's say if you want to see this again, let's say we are recording the call, there should be a replay up in the knowledge base like early next week. There will be a link in the, like we send out an update email every Tuesdays. If you keep an eye out for that, when the replay is added, you'll see that in there. Also, we run these every couple of weeks. Dan should be back for the next one. So if you want to come along to the next one as well, you are more than welcome. And until then, once again, thank you very much for coming. And I'll maybe see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks very much, everyone.